Do you remember when Minecraft had super secret shaders? I do. There were little nuggets of art condensed into post-processing effects that added so much personality to a game you've already played for hours, and I don't forgive the developers for taking them away from me. I've been obsessed with easy or cheap ways of building an art style into a game, because I'm lazy. Like how Lethal Company renders at a lower resolution to get that pixelated effect, or games like Obra Dinn that have built so much of their art style into their rendering pipelines. Game art is not limited to models, textures, music, or environments. Art is not limited to assets. Game art includes the shaders and the pipeline at which objects are drawn to the screen, and today I want to see if I can make a game with as few assets as possible, and then we just crank up the post-processing to do all the heavy lifting. So we'll use primitives for models, solid colors for textures, default fonts, basic procedural animation, and of course, post-processing. Hi, I'm Frank, I'm a game developer, new setup, lighting's bad. So, what is post-processing? Post-processing is a group of shaders and techniques that are applied after the game is already rendered to alter its appearance. This usually comes in the form of a full-screen filter. Some common examples are anti-aliasing, ambient occlusion, as well as scene color correction and color grading. Most modern game engines have post-processing systems which allow for volumes, which contain different post-processing stacks, and even the ability to smoothly change between these volumes. The only downside to post-processing is that it tends to impact performance heavily because each technique requires a full pass on every pixel of every rendered frame. So I've been playing Animal well, and besides feeling incredibly dumb, it has made me want to try and make a small Metroidvania, a game which focuses on gathering items to use for further exploration in a non-linear world. I want to make a simple game, something that isn't going to take you more than 5 minutes to play, where the main mechanic is swapping views. Each view is going to expose different parts of the map, and more importantly, each view is going to be associated with a post-processing stack. So I made a simple character controller that could walk, jump, and use items. We're going to get back to that one in a second. And then I drew up a basic map in my notebook. The main progression is to realize you can't go left, go right, get the double jump, which is a Metroidvania classic, backtrack, go left, then press this button, which introduces you to the ASCII view. In ASCII view, you can go through certain walls and see certain objects and a few other things. And then you get to this janky jumping puzzle, which brings you to the only item in the game, the view swapper, which will let you swap between two views at will. Honestly, there's not too much in terms of post-processing, but here's a complete rundown of the look. There's film grain, set so weak you probably would never notice. Then there's a lot of bloom, but since the scene is mostly dark, it looks alright. Then there's chromatic abrasion. I have this one cranked up a lot, which produces the color separations on the sides of the screen. It's really noticeable around the player's trail, and anything that is bright near the sides of the screen. I think my favorite looking item in the whole game is the view swapper pickup. And of course, I had to do it. I added a pixelation filter, which further stylizes the trails and the chromatic abrasion. This is done after all of the other post-processing just to amplify its effect. Also worth noting that the scene is built on a 2D plane and viewed orthographically, but the orthographic camera is tilted down 3 degrees around the x-axis. This way the tops of surfaces can somewhat be seen, and we provide more edges for the chromatic abrasion to pick up and distort. You know, I really want to describe this in terms of guitar pedals, but you guys are going to call me a nerd. Okay, fine. It's an overdrive into a chorus into a bit crusher with a mid boost. I'm sorry. So that's it for the normal view. The ASCII view is a little bit more complicated. I probably could have built the ASCII view as another full screen shader in the render pipeline, but I couldn't get that working. I found a GitHub repository from 4 years ago where someone built an ASCII shader. So I downloaded their shader, their render texture script, and their palette of characters. Their project has an MIT license, so it is alright that I have a copy of their shader in my public GitHub repository. Then I modified the script to work with Unity's universal render pipeline. Basically, we have a camera rendering to a source render texture, which then gets queried and turned into an ASCII render texture, which then gets displayed on a raw image in a UI canvas. When the view changes, we can just show or hide the ASCII raw image. With that, let me introduce MetroidvaniASCII, which, other than sounding like the name of the guy who directed Stalker, is my basic Metroidvania which you can download and play. Roll the trailer. want to spoil the whole thing since you can go play it yourselves. It's obviously not going to be the greatest game ever. It is simply a prototype. I wrote a blog post about it where you can find the trailer, the download link, and the GitHub link for all the source code. There's still a bunch of jank. Some jumps are not as nicely polished as they could be, and that's because I made it in 2 days. I apologize. Something I noticed is that I really wanted to keep adding to this and expanding it, and I only really put an end to that because I wanted this video to come out. I would love to add a speedrunning mode because it's such a short game. I'd love to add some secret rooms, expand the playable area, clean up some of the jumps, some of the camera views. Also, there's no sound in the entire game. There's just none. So if you'd like me to keep working on this, please express that in the comments. I'll see what I can do. I still have a bunch of ideas for it. Or since the source code is on GitHub, you are very welcome to download it or fork it just to see how I did things, or expand it yourself. If you expand it yourself, just let me know. I'd love to play it. Maybe just don't send me a virus. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it today. I did get some comments in the last video asking for some more specific topics, which I don't feel like warrant longer form videos like this. So I'll probably make them under the title of a tangent, which is going to be kind of short, but we'll tackle each specific topic like CCBY attribution or how to integrate a licensed asset into a fuller project. Expect to see those 2 tangents in the next few weeks. If you want to see how to ethically flip assets, aka license them legally, go check out this video. Otherwise, I will see you soon. Peace.